Hello, I'm Marianne Mashiri. You're watching BBC News with live coverage of our breaking news this hour. The United States and Israel have launched airstrikes across Iran. President Trump says the US and Israel have launched what he called major combat operations. Mr. Trump says the objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime. He says Iran can never have a nuclear weapon, and he accuses the Republic of trying to rebuild its nuclear program. The president has also said there may be American casualties as a result of this operation, which has been dubbed Epic Fury by the Pentagon. The retaliation has started from Iran. Bahrain says the US base there has come under attack. Qatar, Kuwait, Jordan, Iraq and Saudi Arabia have also had missiles fired into their countries. We're getting reports of one person killed in the United Arab Emirates and 4 people in Syria from missile debris. In a video statement, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said the attack is to remove an existential threat to his country. We've been hearing air raid sirens and explosions across Israeli cities. Israel's defence minister has declared a special and permanent state of emergency. They've closed the country's airspace, all schools are shut, and access to holy sites have also been shut today. Israeli defence forces say dozens of missiles are being fired into the country. 70,000 reservists have been called up. Meanwhile, in Iran, the strikes are across multiple locations. Media reports say blasts have been heard in Esfahan, Karaj, Kermanshah, Qom and the port city of Bushehr. Mehrabad airport, just outside Tehran, has come under attack. We're getting pictures of large-scale bombing in Tehran as well. Iranian media, as we've reported, say up to 40 people have been killed at a primary school in the south of the country. An official has told the Reuters news agency that Tehran's retaliation and response will be crushing. Meanwhile, Israeli officials say Iran's Supreme Leader Khamenei and Iran's President Pezeshkian have been targeted. 7 missiles have hit the presidential palace, and there have been strikes around the Supreme Leader's compound. Well, the attack follows weeks of tension in the region, with US forces massing around Iran. Joe Inwood now reports on the latest developments so far.
After weeks of build-up, weeks of threats, this morning the US and Israel left no room for doubt. They want to topple the Iranian regime. Footage is still emerging amidst an internet blackout, but it's clear that a vast air campaign is being carried out right across the country.
The United States military is undertaking a massive and ongoing operation to prevent this very wicked, radical dictatorship from threatening America and our core national security interests. We are going to destroy their missiles and raise their missile industry to the ground. It will be totally, again, obliterated.
So what and who is the US going to target? Well, Iran's ballistic missiles will be top of any list, an attempt to blunt their ability to respond. Iran's navy, seen here on exercise last week, will also be seen as a soft target. The key question, will they kill the president, Masoud Pezeshkian, or the supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei? Iran promised to respond with crushing force. Within an hour of the strikes, air raid sirens could be heard over Israel. The country's Iron Dome missile defences already in action. The Prime Minister warned his people there would be a price to pay.
Challenging days await us. Every military action involves risk, but the risk of doing nothing is greater. Because if we do not act, we will get a nuclear Iran, an Iran with tens of thousands of ballistic missiles.
Some of those ballistic missiles have already been fired in response. The US has a vast military footprint across the Middle East. Ya Allah! And already impacts have been seen at the US naval base in Bahrain, headquarters of the 5th Fleet. Qatar hosts the al-Udeid air base. The last time Iran struck, it was telegraphed in advance and largely performative. Not this time. There have also been reports of drones being intercepted over Iraq. Knowing exactly what is happening inside Iran is difficult at this point, with most communications down. But state TV broadcast this statement.
According to the information obtained from these two corrupt regimes, their operations in Tehran and other cities will continue. Therefore, as much as possible while maintaining calm, travel to other cities to stay safe from the evils of these two regimes.
In January, when widespread street protests gripped the country, President Trump promised help was on its way before taking no immediate action. In today's speech, he said that help had finally arrived.
When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations. For many years, you have asked for America's help, but you never got it. No president was willing to do what I am willing to do tonight. Now you have a president who is giving you what you want. So let's see how you respond.
Iran now faces the biggest military build-up in the Middle East for more than 20 years, and a US administration which has explicitly called for its destruction. It seems likely this conflict will escalate in dangerous and unpredictable ways. Joe Inwood, BBC News.
Well, let's cross live now and speak to our North America correspondent, Helena Humphrey, who is in Washington for us. Helena, just bring us up to date with reaction from Washington so far.
Well, a range of reaction now coming in, Mariam, as you would expect, as lawmakers and, of course, the American public wake up to the news of these strikes. Let me just run you through what some of the lawmakers have had to say, starting off with Lindsey Graham. He is a Republican senator. He is an ally of Donald Trump. And essentially his message, which he's posted on X, is that he believes that this is an opportunity to reshape the Middle East. He says that he expects this campaign to be a violent one, but ultimately he expects it to be successful. You can compare and contrast that with what we've heard from another Republican, a Congressman Thomas Massie, who is a critic of Donald Trump. And he has called this an act of war unauthorized by Congress. Certainly there had not been a congressional vote on any of these strikes. Just some other reaction to bring you now. Ro Khanna, he is a Democratic lawmaker, and he has called for a vote on Monday. He said that lawmakers must come to Washington. They must vote on this. They must put their names on the records with regards to where they stand on these strikes. And then we've also heard from the Vice Chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee, that is Mark Warner. And essentially what his message has been in a statement is he says that we have heard claims of urgency of American intelligence before, clearly referencing previous wars, Iraq, for example, being one of them, and saying that the president must answer questions with regards to the objective here. Basically saying if President Trump can come out and put a video on his social media platform, an 8-minute video in which he has warned that there could be American casualties, that justification needs to be there. Now, certainly we know that Donald Trump has spoken not just about a failure of a nuclear deal, but he has also spoken about ending what he calls a campaign of bloodshed against Americans. But in terms of that objective, he also spoke to the Iranian people, didn't he? He said, stay inside for the time being, but when it is safe to do so, come out, rise up, topple the Iranian regime. And I think, the greater backdrop to all of this is what we had seen in recent weeks when we had seen that brutal crackdown on protesters in Iran, and Donald Trump had said to them, help is on the way, prompting many people to ask in recent weeks, well, where is that help? Donald Trump clearly there speaking to the Iranians as well, saying this will be your opportunity. Of course, what comes of that will be a question that we will see unfold in the days ahead.
And of course, let's not forget, Helena, that in the last few days, even longer than that, the US has been negotiating through Oman in Geneva with the Iranians. And like back in June 2025, when there were mid-negotiations and there was an attack on Iran, this has happened mid-negotiations. It makes one wonder whether negotiating with President Trump is actually a dangerous thing to do.
Well, certainly what we see with Donald Trump is this kind of strategic ambiguity, and of course here in Washington, as correspondents, we've been trying to read the tea leaves, ask questions of the administration about whether a strike is likely. And Donald Trump has, often said, well, I'm not happy with the Iranians, but I haven't made my mind up yet, is what he said on Friday. But the backdrop to all of this had been this incredibly large-scale military build-up, which we had seen in the Gulf as, some kind of leverage, one would think. But at the same time, hearing that there would be technical talks taking place at the Atomic Agency, the UN's Atomic Agency, in Vienna next week. I mean, whether that goes ahead, of course, is a huge question right now. But, it is definitely difficult to assess the actions of this administration. They engage in talks, and then, of course, we have seen this strike. And, of course, as you point out, in a similar way that we had seen with Operation Midnight Hammer, which happened in June of last year. I think there is certainly a distinction here. Operation Midnight Hammer, as we know, targeted nuclear facilities. This seems far more broad in terms of where these strikes are reaching across the country, and then also with regards to that aim of potentially toppling the regime. And I think the questions that are being posed here very legitimately are about the risks of what comes next, particularly when you look at, Pastor's prologue, previous cases like Libya and Iraq. Now, of course, we're not there yet, but I think that is very much where the conversation is going right now in Washington.